Hello, listeners. Welcome to episode 17 of Priviso Live, your dose of insights and tips on all things information security, ICT legislation, and risk, brought to you by Priviso Consulting.
Hello all, Stephen here. You know, Lyn, today's topic particularly interests me because it is an ongoing topic of debate within one of my clients.
I agree. It is relevant for any organization that spends money on information security.
One of my clients is a multinational with a list of almost 40 mandatory security technologies that business units must implement within the mother company. This is aside from mandatory policies and processes. My client is a subsidiary of this holding company, but it has nearly 40 operating companies in related but different fields with differing risk profiles, infrastructures, and applications. In other words, not all 40 mandatory security technologies are relevant, and some are expensive.
And new vendors knock on the door monthly with different technology offerings. So as a CISO, you have to determine which technologies warrant being implemented or left on the shelf. You decided to try identify and prioritize the most significant controls, didn't you?
I did, Lyn. We'll do more analysis shortly, but I simplified my analysis using 3 AI platforms: Grok, Gemini, and Copilot. First, I asked each platform how many information security technologies exist.
And what did they say?
Well, Grok responded that there are more than 100, while the other platforms indicated that the evolution of technology made the question unanswerable.
I think that's correct, and it explains why it's difficult for CISOs to make technology decisions. So, how did you look at the technologies themselves?
I put the same question to each platform. List the 10 most significant and important information and security controls in order of impact.
And you got the same answers?
Far from it, which I considered positive because it meant they were not all referencing the same source.
And what did you do with their responses?
Well, I listed them all, recording the AI-provided value for each control, indicating the priority of the control, 1 being the most important to 10 the least. Between the 3 responses, I received 20 different controls.
That's interesting, but how did you rate them?
Well, first, I assumed that the most valuable controls would be those identified by all 3. So I split the controls into 3 bands. Those flagged 3 times as the most significant, twice as less relevant, and those flagged only once as the least important. Then I looked within those bands and prioritized them based on the average effectiveness indicated by the AI platforms.
I know that you disagreed with the ordering, didn't you?
Yes, I understand this is subjective, but when you have been around as long as we have, you develop your intuition on what matters. That's why I asked you to look at the list provided by the AI models and prioritize them.
That approach meant that I was limited to the options already provided and prevented me from adding anything new, but it did offer a different perspective.
Is there anything you would add that's not on the list?
Well, I think third-party risk management tools are very promising, so I probably would have included them.
Third parties are often a blind spot, so I understand your thinking.
Enough of the methodology. What were the results?
Okay, I am only looking at the AI responses first. Only 2 controls appeared in all 3 AI responses: incident response and security awareness and training. I firmly believe that information security cannot be implemented without current technology. So while I understand the value of both, I would have placed technology higher.
How did it compare to the ratings you and I provided?
Following the same approach, our joint responses placed awareness, training, and incident response in 6th and 12th place, respectively.
So we agree that these are included in the top 10 items, but not the most significant.
If I were running a mid-tier company, I would install EDR way before training my staff in security.
I agree. Okay, but this indicates only that awareness and training are on everyone's list, not the most significant items.
Exactly. This is borne out by the ordering within the 2nd tier. The most critical security controls were rated in order: EDR, access control, patch management, encryption, multi-factor authentication, vulnerability management, and secure asset configuration.
I think that's a reasonable list. It demonstrates how important it is to do the basics. I put access control at number 1 on my list, so I understand why both access control and multi-factor authentication are present. Even a mid-tier company should have all of these.
I have an exceptionally soft spot for EDR, so I am comfortable with it being number 1. Boundary defense doesn't appear in the overall AI list until items 10 and 11, respectively, but that's because Grok didn't include it on the list at all. Gemini and Copilot had them in the top 3 items, and I would concur. These are critical controls.
To finalize the AI list, what were the also-rans?
In order of priority, system and application hardening, data backup and recovery, maintenance monitoring and analysis, audits and assessments, inventory of assets, data protection, and finally, identity and access management.
Some quite key controls there, Stephen, but they came in lower because all the AI platforms did not uniformly select them.
Yes, all of the last list were only selected by one of the platforms.
Okay, so let's look at our selections.
I took the list provided by the AI platforms, and we each prioritized them.
And it was quite different, wasn't it?
Oh yes, there were 6 controls selected by us both. Again, in order of priority: EDR, access control, boundary defense, encryption, vulnerability management, and awareness and training.
I agree with this listing. Even relatively small companies should have all of these in place.
Then either you or I, but not both, selected 8 more controls: network security, patch management, system and application hardening, multi-factor authentication, data backup and recovery, incident response, monitoring and analysis, and regular audits and assessments.
Every one of these items is essential. All we are doing is prioritizing them.
So Lyn, what has this exercise shown us?
Firstly, it underscores the complexity of the decisions that CISOs must make. In addition to the many solutions already available, new developments and different vendors market products that may or may not be relevant to your organization every year.
It also indicates how subjective these selections are. Even you and I had different opinions on prioritizing the top 10.
Yes, but the top 10 are well-established technologies. This shows that you don't need to invest in the latest technology until you have the basics in place and operational.
Every CISO will have a personal view on what to implement in their organization. However, it can help to look at the recommendations within ISO 27001, NEST, or CIS. If you are ISO certified, the statement of applicability will assist.
That's it from us for this episode. If you want to hear more of the same, don't forget to subscribe or like our channel to receive future episodes. You can find us on all major podcast channels, including Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. As always, this is sponsored by Priviso Consulting, your partner when trust matters.
Until next week, stay safe.